I'm going to show you a scene from the movie Christmas Story, where Ralphie can't wait to turn in his writing to his teacher. Let's watch what happens. Today we're going to learn about writing for an audience. We're going to use PATS, purpose, audience, and text structure to help us in our writing. The first thing we have to decide is our purpose. Why are you writing? What do you want your reader to know? The second key to writing is knowing your audience. Who are you writing for? The last key to writing is text structure. How can you write so that your information is clear to your reader? Let's talk a little bit more about purpose. Some of the purposes we might have for writing are persuading someone, arguing with someone, entertaining someone, instructing, advising, or informing. Depending on why you're writing changes how you write. Unless you're Ralphie imagining your teacher clutching your writing to her chest in wonder and amazement, writing for an audience of one isn't very exciting. It really limits what you write and how you write. Sometimes students get to share their writing with some peers. They write differently if they're writing for other students than when they write for just their teacher. Have you ever turned in something that you didn't really want to write? You weren't even interested in it? You just did it because your teacher asked you to? We call this Ralphie writing, where you just write for an audience of one. You're just trying to please that one person. What's really interesting in Ralphie writing is that if we asked you to write for other people, say your peers or a group on the internet, your writing would change dramatically. Instead of writing for your teacher or for yourself, I want you to think bigger. I want you to write for a bigger audience. In order to write for a larger audience, you really need to know what your audience is like. For example, it might be helpful to know how old your audience is. The reason? You would write very differently for a group of 2-year-olds than you would write for a group of grandparents. Gender can be an important thing to remember. Perhaps you're writing for males, females only, or a mix of both. Location could make a difference too. What if you're writing something about where you live, but somebody's never been there before? It helps to know if your audience is familiar with the area. Interests can be something that you need to know about your audience as well. Are they even going to be interested in the subject that you're talking about? We change the way we write to fit our audience. We also change the way we write to fulfill our purpose. For example, if I know a lot about comic books and I want to share that information, I'm going to write very differently if my audience is 12-year-old boys versus if I'm writing to adults. If my purpose is to just tell about the comic books I already have, that's different than if I'm trying to teach someone how to make their own comic book. Depending on our audience and our purpose, our writing might change very dramatically. We've been talking this week about text structures: description, sequence, compare and contrast, cause and effect, and problem and solution. But did you know that your purpose for writing also influences what text structure you're going to use in your writing? Let me give you an example. If I'm trying to persuade you that skydiving is the best thing ever and is totally safe, I'm probably not going to tell you the problems and solutions. Cause and effect doesn't really work for me either. I guess I could compare it to some other sport and let you decide. I could tell you the sequence of things that I did to skydive, but probably the best thing to persuade you is to describe my experience and how fun it was. Here's another example. If I'm instructing you or giving you a set of instructions, I'm probably not going to tell you all the problems or the causes and effects or compare it to other things. I could describe it, but probably the best way to do instructions is a sequence, things listed in order that you want people to do. So how do you decide which text structure to use in your writing? Well, it really depends on your audience and your purpose. And to be honest, there really isn't a right or wrong answer. You could write about just about any topic using description, sequence, compare and contrast, cause and effect, and problem and solution. But the writing is going to be very different. For example, if my topic is soccer and I'm trying to entertain you, I'm most likely to use a description, a story, something that tells you all about soccer. But if I'm trying to make an argument about soccer, for example, that women's soccer players should be paid just as much as the men's soccer players, I'm probably going to have a problem and solution, a cause and effect, or even a compare and contrast structure versus something else. You really just have to try each type of text structure in your writing to see what fits. You've chosen your topic. Now you need to think about your reader. What should your writing look like to keep them interested? What questions do you think they'll have that you'll need to answer? No more Ralphie writing. Write with a purpose for a specific audience in a text structure that keeps their attention.